VueTubers, join me today in experimenting with the latest Vue 3 server-side rendering features. This is going to be a fun experiment with the raw API, so come along. So our goal for today is to create a Vue 3 application with Vue 3 CLI, and then we are going to render that app on a server. We are also going to use Express and Webpack and a lot of terminology. My goal is to stay focused. So I'm not going to build the entire server-side rendering solution. I only want to explore the concepts, okay? So let's get started by creating a new Vue 3 application. I'm using Vue 3 Preview. Okay, we are done, Jimmy, and this is our regular Vue 3 application. I suggest that we start by creating the server because this is server-side rendering. So let's create the server. I'm going to use Express, and to start using this, I'm going to have to install it first, npm I express. And now I can create a new file. I'm going to call it server.js. Okay, let's start with the server. So first thing first, I got to require Express. And then I'm going to instantiate a new server. Server is going to be new Express. Okay. And now I'm going to work with paths. So I'm going to use any path, server and get any path. So that's going to be any, the usual request, response. And then that's a new function. I got to create some HTML. Const HTML is, and I have some HTML ready. That's it, and now I need to response end with HTML. Finally, I gotta listen, server.listen on port 8080. Okay, so we have our server. Okay, just to prove that the server is running, I'm gonna launch it in localhost 8080 and it's sending hello. Now comes the hard part. We need to create a new build in a way that it's built for Node.js. This is going to be very interesting if you're into learning about how things work underneath. I'm going to create a new file, vueconfig.js. So one of the exports I need to add is chain Webpack. This is going to be a function, and the argument I'm going to call Webpack config. This is not a raw Webpack config, it's mostly abstracted. Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to know that this is actually server-side rendering. I'm going to call this environmental variable SSR. Okay, if it's not set, then just don't do any of these customization. And the first thing we are doing, we need to set Webpack configuration, and it needs to target Node.js. Target is Node. Another very important thing to do is setting the library target. So output.library target is going to be common JS2. There's a lot of information in the Webpack build, but there's also a way to extract all the emitted files, and this is going to be instrumental for our cause. Okay, so we're going to be using the Webpack manifest plugin. Okay, so I'm going to install that first. And as I know it's being installed, I'm going to import it into this file as well. Const manifest plugin is Webpack manifest plugin. A lot of typing, I know. Okay, in here, I need to say config plugin. I'm going to give it a name. For every plugin that I add or that we add, we also give it an identifier or name, if you will. So this is going to be my manifest name, and I'm going to use new manifest plugin. We can just use this plugin without any configuration, but I can also show you that there is useful information that we can be using with this plugin. And the most useful things for now is going to be the file name option. And here's why. Manifest.json is something that our Vue 3 CLI is going to create for PWA, Progressive Web App. So we're going to change the file name from manifest.json, okay? And this is the option, file name, SSR manifest. Now we know what this file is actually for. And this is the first difficult thing. The second thing is going to be adding node externals. So Webpack config.externals, and I'm going to need to set that up. There is a library for that too, and it's called npm I Webpack node externals. That's it. And now I can close the terminal for a little while so we have more room on this side. I'm going to need to import node externals. So we are going to use directly like so. Okay, if we go to the Vue server-side rendering guide, and this is the guide for Vue version 2, we're going to notice that they do the same thing. As the externals are node externals, the same plugin right here, node externals, and this says do not externalize dependencies that need to be processed by Webpack. Okay, do not externalize means internalize. You can add more file types here like Vue files. So let's just add this whitelist CSS, or you know what else we can do? We can say CSS or Vue. This is good. We're making good progress. And now we are going to need to disable something. So obviously optimizations, we don't need to optimize this for the browser, for the consumption in the browser and across the internet. This is going to be locally consumed in a Node.js server. So why don't we just disable things like compression? Makes sense, right? Webpack config again, dot optimization. Split chunks is going to be, well, false because we don't need code splitting so much in Node.js. And minimize is going to be false as well. So I don't want any compression to happen. For this to be successful, I had to investigate the plugins that are used by Vue CLI, and I'm going to disable a few, namely delete hot module replacement. I'm going to copy this line a few times because I'm going to be replacing a few more. Preload, okay, and then prefetch. All this is useful for the browser. Progress, okay, let's make things simple. And friendly errors. Yeah, I don't need that. I'm going to give you a little secret. If you ever want to see what this Webpack config or chain Webpack config is going to look like in Webpack, then you can actually output it. Console.log, okay, Webpack config .toConfig. And then this is going to spit out the entire config. I'm going to comment this out because we don't need to bother with that. But this could be useful for you to debug stuff, and maybe you're just interested in learning about Webpack. Okay, let's give this a try. And if this is successful, then the application is going to be built for the server. If you remember, we need to set the SSR environmental variable, and I can do that by setting SSR to, for example, 1, and then I'm going to just build as usual, npm run build. Okay, and this is our first issue, and honestly, you know, this is me copy pasting from Vue to, and obviously I copied this whitelist config, but meanwhile this was changed to allow list. Let's do this again. SSR is 1, npm run build. And there it is, beautiful. So I have app.js and app.css. What if I didn't set npm run build? No SSR. Let's test this out. And now I have chunk vendors in the app. You see how code splitting is working because now we have a new chunk that's a result of code splitting. That's the optimization that I was telling you about, split chunks. So split chunk is going to work when we just run npm run build. But if we run this with SSR equals 1 and then npm run build, then vendors is going to be bundled inside the app.js. And now we need to consume this in Node. So take a look at the dist folder and we see SSR manifest. You see all the files that were created. We are going to focus on these two. Now going back to the server, I'm going to close the terminal again, going up. For this to work, we're going to be working with 2 new APIs that come with Vue 3. Okay, the first one is going to be create a server-side rendered application or createSSRApp. That's the first one. The second one is going to be renderToString because we are going to be consuming strings to send that as HTML. Okay, createSSRApp. And that comes with require Vue. Ta-da! And createSSRApp looks very similar to createApp. You see createApp from Vue, createApp.mount application. We are just not going to be mounting, but we are going to be creating. We create app that we import. Then we need to import the app.js, obviously. How do we do that? We don't know the name of app.js because app.js is this app dot then hash and .js. How do we know which hash that's going to be? Exactly, SSR manifest. App.js becomes that file. So we need to import the SSR manifest.json into our server.js. Okay, manifest is going to be require. Okay, dist and then SSR manifest JSON. Okay, now we need to import the app from manifest, but let's see what it is. Const app path, okay, is manifest. Let's get back to SSR manifest to see that. App.js dot, well, I can't say dot, app.js. Okay, this is the path. However, as you see, this is /js/app, okay? What I'm worried about is /js. So I need to properly consume the path. I need to make sure that this is going to be under the distribution or this folder and not the root of my computer. For that, we use, I like to put path in the front. Path is going to be require path. So just before manifest, I'm going to write path.join. I'm going to say this current directory, their name, and then go back to dist or distribution, this folder, and then join the manifest.app.js and close that function call. And now I'm going to require it. App is require app path, and I'm going to be using the default export. Somehow while I was writing, VS Code included path for me, but I did that manually without seeing that. Okay, what do we do with the app? We create an SSR app, of course, const, and then app, now lowercase app, is going to be createSSRApp. Let me show you why we are doing this. Let's compare with main.js. You see, import app from app, create app, okay? We are doing the same thing. We are importing app and we are creating, it's not just app, it's server-side rendered app. And we put that inside the app reference. So with this, we created the application, but we haven't rendered yet. For this, we are going to be using the server renderer that does all the work for us in the background. It's so smart and it's so unbelievably fast. We need to do two things. Close this because so much mess. Second thing, we are going to be importing this or installing first npm I Vue server renderer. As this is being installed, I'm going to require it right away, right under requiring Vue. Okay, renderToString is going to come from Vue server render. Okay, this is all I needed. And it installed. I'm going to close this for now. RenderToString I'm going to use now. App content is RenderToString app, as simple as that. Let me tell you, there's a lot of stuff that happens underneath the hood in RenderToString, but eventually I'm going to get a string of app content and put it right here. Instead of hello, this is going to be my app content. But here's the catch. Because we use createSSRApp in server.js, can we also use createApp? Can we also use mount? Now this is incompatible. So we need to change the main.js logic so it doesn't do all that, okay? createApp with .mount, that doesn't work with createSSRApp. So I'm gonna copy and paste, okay, main.copy, I'm gonna name it main.server, okay, main.server. I'm going to remove createApp and remove this line, and all I need is to just pass app.vue, okay? Export default app. All I ever needed. But I need to tell Vue config how to use that main.server. I'm gonna go to the top because that deals with Webpack config entry, and this entry point is called app. Clear the existing value and add source main server.js. Okay, this is not actually the same main.server.js. Okay, and if I go to the terminal again, I'm gonna use ssr npm run build. Ooh, let's see what happens. Good, goody goody. And now, time for the truth. Server. Whoops. Node server. Okay, going back to the browser, I'm going to our hello world, reload, and yes, I see object promise. You know why I see object promise? Because this is a promise. RenderToString is an asynchronous code. So this is going to be an async function. App content is await RenderToString. Okay, let's do that. Oh, well, we don't have to do that all over again. Just node server. Go back. Let's see. Does this work? Yes, that works. Ha! Booyah! Okay, it kind of works. You know, we don't have any CSS. But I think by now you already figured this out and you know where to find the CSS. So that's going to be a link, and then that means it's a style sheet, all right? And then we have some kind of href or position of it, okay? And then it comes from the manifest, and that's going to be app.css, and we can close this proper. Now we need to tell Express server to use these static files as statics. So for every folder that we have here, server.use image, and that's express static, okay, path join directory name, and that's going to be distribution or dist image. And I'm going to replicate that a few times. Okay, we have it for image, and I'm going to have for JS, and I'm going to repeat that for CSS, and one more, favicon.ico. All right, and this is it. I'm going to save this and start the server again. Let's test this out. That is it. Finally, let's verify. Elements obviously, but if I reload again, go to network, go to localhost, and preview, this is good. Response, we actually do get HTML from the server. Wow. If you think this is rewarding for you and for your friends, feel free to share it, like it, subscribe, that little bell icon and all that stuff. Thank you for sticking with me, and see you again soon.